Hey, everybody. Welcome to an art live stream. My name's Chris. This is my channel, Pros and Cons. And every once in a while, I just get a wild hair and feel like drawing. I was doodling something right now, and I thought it was coming out pretty well. Actually, I have something to compare it to. And yeah, I thought I'd just do an inking live stream and just chat with anybody that drops by. Hello, ChemDog. Thanks for dropping in. Very kind of you. Let me make sure that I add there. Yeah. So I was starting to sketch this, and basically I had been trying to draw this before, but I felt like I could do it better. The idea is that Marshall, one of the main characters from the comic Radiant Black, sometimes he's just at his job at an old video store, and it obviously is never very busy, so he just does stuff to keep himself entertained. Sometimes it's business ideas. In this, I just imagined him drawing himself, like at Radiant Black. And I was sort of okay with the first panel. I thought that the second one, his face looked too cartoony, and that I cropped to like this next panel kind of awkwardly. My idea is that he's drawing himself. A customer is like, hey, that's pretty good. Maybe you should sell that. And like that gives him an idea, and he tries to sell it and nothing happens. We just watch the passage of time, and he goes from being like really upbeat and excited about the idea to being just sort of like, everyone's a critic. So anyway, thanks. It looks like a bunch of folks are dropping in now. So that's really kind of you guys to join me. I don't know Ayako, sorry. Let's see. Hey, I can't say long, but so great to catch some of the stream. Appreciate having you here, J Muse. This character from a comic? Yeah, from Radiant Black, a comic that I really... So I looked at this and I was like, I could do better. Plus, I realized I was having him draw with his left hand, and then like in the next panel, I have him like resting his hand on his chin. And that doesn't really make sense, like unless a certain amount of time has passed, but I wanted it to be almost right away. So I redid it with like, drawing with his right hand, worked on this posture until I felt it was a little less cartoony, a little more realistic. Gave like sort of a full face here so that I could like sort of see his expression. And I'm going to like sort of fine tune this even a little more, to be honest. But yeah, I just thought that I could do a little better. So, since it was coming out well, I was like, well, you know what? I'll do an ink. I'll like keep sketching and just chat with people while they're there. Getting ready for Hurricane Lee. Oh, all right. Well, good luck. I hope that I hope things go well. Good luck. About to hop in the shower. Just wanted to say, as a guy that works in a slow gas station, finding stuff to do is such a mood. Well, good. Thank you, Reaper. I'm glad that there's something realistic about it. Yes, he could be ambidextrous. I just thought that this read more clearly, hopefully. Let's see. So happy to see you drawing. Well, I should get to it. And one thing I was thinking was that I would, in this like original idea, I had like his idea represented by an old-fashioned light bulb, but I kind of had to jam it in. I don't know if this will read well or not, but I'm drawing him from a low angle so that I can show the ceiling, and I'm gonna have a light flickering above him as though he's sort of got the germ of an idea. I don't know if that's funny or not, but I'm gonna go for it. So just using some simple perspective here, we'll see what we can come up with. Bear with me while I rule some of this stuff out, which I know is not super exciting to watch. But yeah, thanks for joining me. On this channel, I plan on doing a live stream on Monday, as I always do. And then a couple days after that, I'm taking a trip for a little while. So I don't know for sure what I'm going to be doing for like my schedule with this show. But I'll try to keep making shows. And I'm just sort of eyeballing the distance between like sort of the ceiling tiles. I haven't measured any of this out. I guess you could, but I don't think it should read as like super skewed. I hope it doesn't. Let's see. Been doing okay, Moan. Thanks for the kind words. I started reading manga again, almost done with the series Dorohedoro. Ever heard of it? No. I don't think so anyway. Maybe I have, but I don't think so. A compact fluorescent bulb being old-fashioned hits me hard. Maybe that isn't old-fashioned. The idea of a light bulb is maybe the old-fashioned thing that I was referring to. Hello, Jack. Thanks for joining me. So yeah, just do that, and let me think. I think what I will try to do here is, I don't know if this is going to read right, like if I do it as 3-point perspective from here. Oh, there's a way to measure this out. I'm trying to think. Do I do it as 3-point where it's like the next line I need is way, way off my page? Do I figure out how you're supposed to measure it? Or do I turn it into just 1-point perspective and just, yeah. I think I'm going to just have to do 1 point. Darn. I'm just going to draw a test line to see what it would sort of look like if I just do it as 1 point instead of 3-point perspective. That doesn't look bad. I think that's what I'll do. Oh, you picked up Batman Gargoyle of Gotham? I thought that didn't come out until Saturday. Oh, your store must be being naughty. It's supposed to not be released until Batman Day on Saturday, but I do want to pick that up. Absolutely. Hello, Moritaka. Lovely to have a few folks in here. That's really nice of you. I know this is boring to watch, and that I'm not super talkative while I rule things out. That's why I mostly just sort of ink on these live streams as compared to, like drawing from scratch. I get kind of quiet when I'm thinking things out. But I think we'll be good. Yes, Chris, that's exactly what the art needs. Me, a guy who knows absolutely nothing about art. Well, some of you guys do, and you know what? People, even though if they think that they're not artists, I think that you can often just sort of tell when something isn't quite right. Yeah, doing okay, Alex. Thank you. Yeah, I enjoyed it too. And while I love Nick Klein, it was definitely fun to see a friend of mine, Travel Foreman, fill in on the latest issue of Incredible Hulk. So yeah, that was really fun. Yes, feel free to talk amongst yourselves. The kitties are quiet because they just ate, so they'll probably be hanging out upstairs with my wife and just relaxing for now, I would think. I am going to do something here. Let's see. I'm looking to see what options I have for brush pens. Use this as a test to see if this pen's healthy. I'm going to draw Marshall's hand here with a nice thick brush, and then draw the thing that he's drawing with a really thin technical pen, just to try to create a little bit of a difference in sort of the actual art that I'm drawing, and then the sort of in the fictional world. What that there's a name for that. What is that word? There's a word for like I can't think of it. Never mind. But the art within Marshall's world. And I think I'll like even ink it with like, a nice thick black shadow. No, not much in terms of like hatching or anything for at least this panel. Just so that if I do any hatching with the technical pen, it'll look that much different. We'll see if this works, but it's an idea, and you got to go with your creative impulses sometimes, because every once in a while they pay off. Anybody reading anything fantastic that they recommend, or watching anything really good? I'm really enjoying Ahsoka, and a lot of people tell me that to really enjoy it, I would have needed to watch Rebels and Clone Wars, which I haven't, but I really like Ahsoka so far. I think it's a pretty interesting show. Trying to think. That's about all I'm watching right now, though. Thank you. No, that's exactly the word I was looking for. Diegetic. The artwork of Radiant Black would be diegetic, as in it's the artwork within the character's world. Thank you, diegetic. Yes, thank you, David Cutler. You guys are really smart. Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh my God, Moritake, if you've just started, I'm kind of jealous, because what a journey that book takes you on. I remember when I started it, I was like, the art's okay. It's so over the top violent, and am I really going to be into this? The character's not that likable. I'm so glad I stuck with it past the first arc, because it really builds into an epic story. The art absolutely continues to improve, and it takes you on an amazing character journey, because Guts is just somebody who's gone through like just about every horrific thing you could imagine. And it explains why he's a jerk. But like when he softens even a little bit early on, you're like, wow, this is actual character growth. That this is why I'm reading a story, is I want to see change. I want to see a story change somebody. I want to believe that people can change. I love Berserk. Love it. It's definitely a favorite, and it's probably not for everybody, because it is super, super violent. It has really dark stuff, but I do love it. Fiona and Cake. I don't know that one. I'll try to remember to look it up. Astro City and Slam Dunk. Two fantastic books. Very different, but boy, doesn't that show you what a wide range comics can cover, and just how versatile they are to tell such diverse stories. I love that. Yeah, I love that. That's great. I hope you enjoy both of them. Reading American Prometheus after watching Oppenheimer. I really like that movie. Maybe I will get around to reading American Prometheus sometime too. Your chickens did hatching. It's a different kind of hatching, but good. Batman, Robin, Daredevil, and Avengers Inc. Those all looked interesting. I ultimately didn't pick any of those up, but they all did look interesting. I considered each of them strongly. I can only read so much in a week is all. Comic biography of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Huh. That sounds really interesting. I don't know about that one, the Beowulf. Thank you. Huh. Oh, the Milligan Bachelot Shade the Changing Man. I did read it, but boy, that was a long time ago. That was kind of early Vertigo stuff. Yeah. I remember thinking that this Chris Bachalo guy is going to go somewhere, and he really did. Really, yeah, wow. Fiona and Cake is the Adventure Time spinoff. Oh, okay. I've seen a little of the first season of Adventure Time, but I'm not an expert on that. Okay. HBO Max. Well, I do have that, so maybe I can get around to it. It's called The Faithful Spy by John Hendricks. Okay. The Faithful Spy. Oh my God. That sounds like a really captivating story. I definitely don't know it, but yeah, a man of faith tasked with an assassination that has conflict right from the start before you even know who the people involved are. You add to that the stakes of World War II. Wow. Sounds like it's got a lot of potential. I'll have to keep that one in mind. Plus, I personally tend to really like biographies, and I'm willing to sort of not overly focus on the art style, if that makes sense. Like I can focus a lot more on the story and just sort of like forgive average visuals if the inherent story is interesting. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to getting to Japan soon. Definitely have a plan to make an episode about Osamu Tezuka, who I adore, and we'll see, like, probably some travel vlogging and stuff. If I'm really, really lucky, maybe I'll bump into somebody worth interviewing. I don't know. We shall see. All right, so that'll do for the hand. I did not know that HBO Max was America only. I had no idea. Although if you get like a VPN, you could probably get around that pretty easily. Any books that disappointed you because the cover artist didn't draw the interior pages? I think that used to happen to me when I was a lot younger and was just sort of discovering everything for the first time. Like when I was picking stuff up off the spinner rack as a very young teenager, because I don't think I always flipped through everything. Sometimes I literally would just sort of judge it by its cover. And if the interior didn't match, I remember being a little disappointed. But I think these days, I'm just more informed. So I don't think I'm generally too surprised and therefore disappointed. But yeah, that's a fair question. Let's see. You do seem to pick the books with top level art generally. Art's important to me in comics, super important. Your last batch of reviews Monday made me pretty insecure about my own work. Well, don't be insecure. I'm definitely not always right. I remember I had a friend when I was living in Boston, Paula Mayberry, and he's done some comics. That's why I mentioned him by name. And I remember, like he had a very sort of street graffiti sketchy style, and I was like, I remember asking him early on, like, oh, like what would you want to do in comics? And I thought that he was going to talk about like real indie stuff, and he was like, oh, I want to do stuff for Marvel. And I remember thinking like, well, that doesn't sound like right, but he did get mainstream work, and I felt like, oh, that was weirdly judgmental of me in some sort of way to like think that an art style can only apply to a specific style or company or something. I felt really dumb about that. And I always liked his artwork. I'm not saying that I didn't like his art, because I always liked Paul's art. But I was like, I felt kind of ignorant when he started like getting that mainstream work and going like, why did I not think this would work? And I go like, even though I try to not have prejudices when I look at art, I think sometimes we do. Sometimes we do have prejudices. And it's good to be aware of them, because then hopefully we can sort of acknowledge that and get past it. Cover art tricking kids is a time-honored tradition. It's not. I've never seen the 2009 Astro Boy movie, but I do love Astro Boy. Um, it's kind of funny if you go back and look at the original Astro Boy cartoons. Like, I think that they work. They've got a style. They've got fun stories and stuff like that. Good music and voices, but uh, the animation is definitely intentionally very cheap. They're animating on the threes instead of the twos, so um, not a lot of motion. They invented, literally invented, a lot of tricks for like saving money and trying to make animation go further with little money. So I always found that interesting to compare the original Astro Boy cartoon to what we do today. All Against All. Yeah, I saw that on the shelves. I think that's through Image. That's very kind. Thank you for dropping in. It's nice of you. I honestly love seeing the art evolve in a comic. Oh yeah. That's one of my favorite things about artists that have long runs on titles is getting to see the evolution. You know, and it's of course there's lots of examples in manga since you know the successful ones have the same artist the whole time basically, but there are definitely examples too of long runs in American art. Jack Kirby, Mark Bagley, like artists that have really hung on to a title for a long time. And you can see an evolution. It's really interesting. All creative pursuits are like that if a creator puts out enough material, except Stephen King. Yeah, maybe. I like Stephen King, I have to say. I do like Stephen King. I think that he's got his tropes and stuff. It can be kind of like pulpy work, but there's a lot about Stephen King that I like. I'm not saying I love every story he's written, but I am a big fan of the Dark Tower series. I really love that. Did I draw a young Kurt Russell? I wasn't going after Kurt Russell. I think I might thin his neck up a little to like make him look a little less beefy. It was not intentional to be Kurt Russell, and he's going to have dark hair, really dark hair, so that might make him look a little less Kurt Russell. But you know what? There are worse things than drawing someone to look like Kurt Russell. So there are worse things. You know what? I was thinking of doing like a Radiant Black's head all hatched, but now I think I'll just give like a highlight and then literally fill the rest in black. Yeah, I think I will. I think I All right, leave me alone, you. Let's see. Sometimes with music, the earliest work can be the most appealing because it has that mix of what makes the artist stand out and rawness and relatability. I think that can happen with art too. Sometimes, it depends on when you discover something. But that might be the version of it that appeals most to you. And I don't know. But I do like going on an artistic journey with somebody. I like to see them flex, and I figure I'll always have that original thing. Hope that makes sense. I'm not usually one that thinks later works that are lesser ruin the earlier works. So, like, if you tell me that like Indiana Jones 4 and 5 ruin Indiana Jones. I'm like, no, I really can still watch those original movies and have a great time personally. Like it didn't ruin it for me or anything like that. So, but I guess sometimes it does influence other people's perspectives. I think that an an artist's life can sometimes influence my opinion of their art. There are certain things like they could do that would be bad enough that I can't enjoy it, and other things where I'm just like, yeah, it's not for that. Wouldn't be how I lived my life, but I can forgive and forget. I hope I'm being vague enough that it's really boring and not interesting. Can you guys hear that? Kitty just started yelling upstairs, all the way upstairs. Have you seen Moonfall? What is it with Roland Emmerich making movies on insane conspiracies? Oh, yeah, I did see that. It was terrible. That was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. Wow, is that bad? Ooh, best heist comic. I'm trying to think through Brubaker and Phillips' Criminal because there's probably a heist story in there, but it's not coming to me. I can think of like a very recent one that was very good, and that was Scott Snyder writing Dark Spaces Wildfires. It's about some female prisoners who are on the sort of work release program where you can be a firefighter, and they're fighting wildfires, and they decide to rob a mansion that's in the path of the wildfires. They have a small window of opportunity though before the fires catch up, and then there's some twists. It's pretty cool. Oh yeah, Parker. That's a perfect heist comic. You're right. Especially he did 5 adaptations, I want to say. Darwin Cook did of Parker's stories. The first one is exceptional. They're all very good. Yeah, I think that there's a lot more to come about Marshall. I definitely do. Oh, I think it's worth watching as long as you can watch it with a friend, because you are going to be stunned at how stupid it is. Spectacularly stupid. But not like the kind of stupid where like Fast and the Furious, like definitely plays fast and loose with physics, but they kind of know what they're doing. I mean, it got there, and that's just the style. But Moonfall is like trying to like have these world shattering stakes, literally, and yet the decisions scientists make are incomprehensible. Just bizarre. Just bizarre. I'm sure it would. I saw it with a friend, and we had a good time, just like being stunned at how stupid it was. But I think I think that's the way to see it. I mean, Neil Breen movies make more sense. This pen is not doing great, so I'm going to choose the next one up. Yeah, yeah, people are chased by the moon. The moon almost gets them, but don't worry, they outran the moon. They outrun. There are several scenes where people outrun the moon. If you haven't seen it, it even watching Roland Emmerich's other disaster movies like Independence Day and 2012 and stuff like that. What is it? The one where like the world freezes and stuff. Don't worry, it gets better. Those are dumb. Moonfall is on a whole other level. Just spectacular. What's the dumbest movie you've ever seen? One where you were just like, no, how can they expect me to buy into that idea? Like something like that. Like what's the dumbest? I'm trying to think. Like probably for me it would be things that are kind of known to be famously dumb, like The Room or Sharknado or Suburban Sasquatch. The stuff I can enjoy is like Neil Breen, like where I feel like that they're sincerely trying to make a good movie and don't know that they're making a bad movie. Like that's when I have the most fun. That's when I have the most fun. The Room. Oh, Battlefield Earth. Yeah, yeah. The Beast of Yucca Flats. I feel like I've heard that. Did Red Letter Media cover it? Oh no, I don't remember. Orin, Legend of Star Chaser. I don't know that one. I love bad movies sometimes. Oh, Troll 2 is special. Troll 2 is like, I feel, is especially entertaining if you also can see the documentary about it, like Best Worst Movie. That's a really entertaining documentary. If I didn't do a YouTube show about comics, and that's what I want to do the most, but if I didn't do that, I'd probably be yet another one of these guys that reviews bad movies. That would just be fun for me. I know there's tons of podcasts and YouTube shows that do it, and honestly, like I don't think I could necessarily do better than say a Red Letter Media show, Best of the Worst, but I would love to do that. That would be a lot of fun for me. Jurassic Park, that first one really is a great movie. It holds up very well. It's a great premise, great cast, great direction. There's a lot that was, and you know what? It really is funny. When it comes to special effects and everything, a lot of people will point to some things like, say, Star Wars. It was one of the first huge blockbusters to have really good special effects. But I really think that there was a pivotal shift, maybe not instead of, but there was a pivotal shift in how special effects were approached after Jurassic Park, because that was the first one to really show that CG animation could be effective. And that's how everything is done now, which is taking it too far. The great thing about Jurassic Park was looking at a digital versus a miniature versus a puppet versus, like some sort of big robot, puppet or something like that. There were all these different ways that Spielberg was using camera tricks to represent dinosaurs. So you weren't like just focused on like, is that digital? Oh, I see like, something that doesn't look right. So but it certainly was the movie where after that, like, everything's CG. Thank you, Rivi. That's really kind of you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's sort of what I'm getting at. But thank you, Sigmix. They learned the wrong lessons. Hollywood often does. If something is popular, they don't think it was popular because something was well executed. They think, let's try to do this surface level thing. But you know what? That I won't hold that to just movies. That happens with every form of everything. Everything. Like, certainly like books, music, plays. Um, but it would happen in like, politics and science and stuff. People chase after what they see as trends. And yeah, tricky. There are a lot of bad. Oh yeah, that's true. There's a lot of bad comic movies. That would be fun. That would be fun. Yeah, that's maybe I should do some reviews of just bad comic book movies at some point. That could be a lot of fun. Actually, I say that, and I'll just give credit because I think this week or over the coming weeks, maybe, um, the Weekly Planet or Mr. Sunday Movies. It must be Mr. Sunday Movies. That channel is reviewing a bunch of those sort of like movies that were based on comic strips and pulp heroes. Like they did Dick Tracy today, and I think they're going to do like The Phantom and the Shadow. Yeah, but so there is somebody that's doing it like this week right now that you could look at it. Oh yeah, Barbed Wire. I could talk about Barbed Wire or Blade Trinity or Batman and Robin, but there's tons of others that are like more obscure that are based on like comic strips and indie superheroes and stuff. There's lots of bad movies. I remember really liking The Shadow when it came out. I do remember thinking that one I enjoyed. I haven't rewatched it really. It's been a long time since I saw that movie, so I hope it holds up. I remember liking it. Whereas, for instance, like The Shadow, I remember being sort of disappointed with. I didn't find like there were parts of it I liked at the time, but I didn't love it. Just as a point of comparison. I know I said I'd be using my brush a bunch more on the characters, but I think that like some of this detail needs to be kind of small. So yeah, I'll use the brush for outlines and stuff like that, and some of the big stuff. Oh yeah, that's right. Tim Curry was in that. Yeah, there was a really good cast in that one. There was a really good cast. 2003 Daredevil is something I debate on if it's a so bad it's good movie or just a terrible film. It's like flawed, and then it has some good ideas too. So I don't think it's a total disaster. It's more of a disappointment for me. For me, have I seen Trip Road Trip to Perdition? Is that what it was called? Is Road Trip to Perdition? Road to Perdition, I think, or History of Violence. Yeah, I've seen both. The very good movies. There's a lot of movies out there that people don't always know are based on comics. Snowpiercer, Old. What are the Chris Hemsworth movies on Netflix? Like The Extractor or something that's based on Favela. There's a lot of really good movies out there that people don't always realize are based on comic books, and I certainly think Road to Perdition and History of Violence are really high up there as movies that people have no idea are based on comics. Monkey Bone. That's a bad one. That's so bad. I just didn't have any fun at that. Like that's just ugh. Pretty sure Road to Perdition is a comic book. First. Oh yeah, the live action Popeye movie. Interesting movie. Not perfect, but very good for its era. Robin Williams kills it. Like Robin Williams, and honestly, for the time, like Shelley Long, I think was also a really good olive oil. The idea that Robert Altman made it like basically a comic book movie is crazy to me, considering like the rest of the films he directed. But Robin Williams like was the best part of the Popeye movie. He really did it justice, and he was a comics fan. He knew his stuff. He loved it, and yeah, it would have been nice if he had an opportunity to appear in some other comic adaptations. Probably, I'm sure he would have raised the overall quality of several things if he had had the opportunity. I know, like for instance, like Jack Nicholson's Joker is pretty damn memorable, and yet I think Robin Williams might have given us something really interesting and memorable too. He really might have. Yeah, not everybody knows Men in Black is a comic. That's fair. Thanks for double checking. Yeah, I thought it was a comic. It's both. Okay, yeah, it was a comic book first. That's the only part that I was. Yeah. Okay, a bunch of you guys appreciate the Popeye movie. That's cool. That's cool. I saw his test work. That I think it would have looked really cool. I think that would have been really cool. Too bad that didn't happen. Yeah, exactly. I do like Jack Nicholson's Joker. It's different than what we'd had before. It's memorable, and at the same time, it's kind of still Jack Nicholson. Not to say that Robin Williams wouldn't have been Robin Williams, but he might have been, because some of the movies he made towards the latter end of his career, where he played like psychopaths. For instance, in Christopher Nolan's movie Insomnia. Or 1 Hour Photo, he legitimately played scary individuals. He could break out of being just Robin Williams. He wasn't Robin Williams comedian in Good Will Hunting. So I think he might have given us something really interesting as the Joker. We'll never know. We'll never know. Allegedly, he was even offered the role, but it was a negotiating tactic for the studio to get Jack Nicholson to sign. That's the story I've always heard. That's the story. Right, yeah. Law and Order SVU. I mean, he really could do a lot. He really. You know what? Honestly, I think I preferred him as a serious actor in like his dramatic roles. I'm impressed with what he could do as a comedian. I didn't always find it funny. Sometimes I found it a little like over the top obnoxious. I was like, okay, slow down. Sometimes I liked it, but I really always appreciated everything Robin Williams did. Like as a more serious thespian. I was very impressed, very impressed. And it's very sad that we don't have him anymore. Very sad. So if you have depression issues, please take them seriously and please ask for help. There are ways to deal with these things, and things can get better. And I say that as somebody that deals with very serious depression issues. I totally understand what Robin Williams did. I do. It's scary how much I sometimes think it's a good idea. I'm glad that I haven't done anything. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think a lot of times comedians can make fantastic dramatic actors when when they have all that sort of like energy, you sort of can sense it behind them when they're restraining it. They've got this like, like personality that's like behind the eyes, and you just sense it. There's subtext there with certain comedians when they play a very serious role and are more subdued. Yeah, I thought that he was really good in 1 Hour Photo. Just very creepy, very creepy. If you haven't seen it, it's a good movie, but I really also recommend Insomnia. And again, I will admit, I really like Christopher Nolan's stuff almost all the time. Almost all the time. What was... Yeah, he did Oppenheimer, and I like that. Oh, yeah, I didn't really care for Tenet. I wanted to like it, didn't care for Tenet. Didn't interest me a whole lot. Like, it felt like there was just so much explaining for how, the time gimmick worked that it just ultimately didn't interest me that much. Took too much explaining. That's the only one, though. I think I like everything else he did. Yeah, I had to think about it for a minute. I was like, "There's a Nolan movie I didn't love. What was it?" And like took me a while there. Takeshi Kitano is essentially the god of comedy in Japan, but overseas he's known for gritty, introspective movies. Really interesting contrast. Takeshi Kitano. I'm sure I've seen something by him because the name does sound familiar. But oh yeah, there's another example of like when Bill Burr has been in. Well, first of all, like The Mandalorian, but also, Breaking Bad. And you're like, this guy's really good as a dramatic actor. Yes, I saw that. I mean, he didn't. That said, I believe he did set off literally the biggest explosion that's ever been captured on film, and it was incredibly massive. So he did set off a real explosion in the desert. That part is true. He realized that, like, for blowing up a huge airplane in Tenet, that it would be cheaper to literally blow up an actual gigantic airplane than to do it as CG. So that was also a huge explosion. Beat Takeshi? Oh, that's why. Yes, right. Takeshi Kitano. You're right. In Japan, I know he's known for like comedy and stuff, and didn't even host like one of those game shows where people like run an obstacle course and fall in water and mud. But yeah, he's so serious in some of the movies that I've seen him in. He's scary. Thank you, people. Thank you. Kitano, yes. I did hear that almost happened at one point. But you know what? Spider-Man was a movie that was in development for a long time and went through all sorts of iterations. So it doesn't surprise me that much how many famous director names and even actor names are like, sort of tossed around as, oh, they almost did this or that for Spider-Man. Yeah. What are folks thinking of the One Piece adaptation, the live action adaptation? Honestly, I think it's pretty good. I don't necessarily think it's exceptional, but also, just to be clear, I'm not a massive fan of the manga/anime, but I like it. I don't dislike it. I enjoy it, but I don't think it's like one of my top favorites. So I actually really like this adaptation. Is that what it was called? I really don't remember. Let's see. I haven't watched it yet, and that is why I was watching Popeye. That's fair. That's fair. Seen the first episode, and I liked it. Okay. I'm probably alone on this, but I would love for there to be a Spider-Man soap opera. The trick there is that soap operas are generally inexpensive, and Spider-Man, I think, demands a good sized budget because you got to have some of the action. Like the soap opera stuff's really important to Spider-Man, his supporting cast and stuff. Um, Ultimately, it would probably work best as a TV show versus a movie, but it would probably be too expensive to do as like a TV show and do it justice. But such an important part of Spider-Man is all the drama that happens with his supporting cast. And you can really only touch on that in a big budget movie where you sort of have to also get to the big action scenes. Uh, it's it's part, I should say, of why I do love comic books. I literally think that sometimes you can do more in them than you can do in other mediums. I think it's appropriate for the limitations of live action. I think you're talking still about One Piece, and that's fair. Thank you. Spider-Man's whole life is a soap opera. It is. It's a huge part of his life or his stories. Spider-Man deserves better than the lowest quality form of daytime TV fiction. Well, some people will call comics, the lowest form of, written entertainment. So I guess it's all. I don't watch soap operas, but if something can both employ people and entertain people, there are definitely worse things to do with money and time. Sometimes a simple distraction without too much that's deep about it, it's not the worst thing in my mind. Raimi does a good job with the side characters. Yeah, that's true. I mean, but at the same time, it's sort of more touched on than like it's not given like a, Aunt May's house like in screen time. I bet that was like a 5-minute scene. It certainly wasn't a 20-minute scene. Should they bring back the MC2? I don't know that there's enough of an audience to really demand that. Maybe for Spider Girl. Maybe Spider Girl. I don't know about the rest of it. Are you talking about that old show soap that Billy Crystal was on? Because that one was pretty funny, honestly. Short lived, but pretty funny. Climb aboard and bring along all your hopes and dreams. Together we can find what we're looking for. Isn't that how it goes? I might have it a little off. It's the One Piece song. A Spider-Man streaming show doesn't sound too bad. He's much more grounded than other heroes. Just to be clear, Sony is making a Silk live-action TV show. So I think that that's the closest we will realistically get on something like that. Because Spider-Man is just, for now anyway, he's a movie guy. Him one of them movie guys. You ever hear them movies? I don't know about you, but I think they're going to take off. I think these movie things are here to stay. Yeah, that's right. Amazon is doing Spider-Man Noir. Oh, that's kind of you. Sorry that I'm dealing with a little bit of lag here and there on the camera. That really does feel like something that's designed to be a comic, and it would be very hard to adapt. Yeah, I agree. And it's a great comic, though. It's really good. Oh, yeah, I like the Goon. The Goon is really cool. I think the Goon could be adapted well. Do you think? That's interesting, Philip. I love Mike Allred. I wouldn't say that it's intentional, but it could be seeping in because I really do like Mike Allred a lot, and I would be flattered to draw like anywhere close to what he can accomplish. Not intentional, but definitely possible. Since I think that the people that we really love and admire do influence us even subconsciously. I'll certainly take it as a compliment, as I think it was intended to be. Feel bad for the Valiant comic universe. I think Exo Manowar has great potential to start a cinematic universe. Yeah. Yeah, Exo Manowar has got a lot of potential. I agree. I really like his iZombie. iZombie is underrated. There's something I bet a lot of people didn't even know that TV show was necessarily based on a comic. I don't know. How do you show somebody coming up with an idea? I'm just trying to give Marshall like a wide-eyed expression here, but I feel like I'm going to have a hard time giving him like the littlest bit of a smirk and like trying to give him like big wide eyes. I don't know if it will read or not. I just don't have enough experience to necessarily nail this. Yeah, the Exo Manowar versus Iron Man game. I never played that, but I remember it coming out. I wonder if it was any good. Actually, I honestly don't remember what the reviews for it were like. I guess now you could just simply Google it and figure out if it was well reviewed or not. I mean, I'm sure it was not a massive hit. Otherwise, I would have heard about it. But isn't that funny? Like that there was a time where Marvel was like, oh, we need to team up with these Valiant guys. They know what's going on. What's a character in serious need of a newer reboot? Personally, I want a Tom King, Greg Smallwood version of Dr. Solar and Magnus Robot Fighter. Well, sure, if I'd take that team on anything. I totally understand the appeal there. Those guys. If you haven't read this past year's, what do you call it? Human Target 12-issue series by King and Smallwood. It's something special. It's really impressive. Essentially, it's a romance story set within sort of a murder mystery. So there's some noir aspects to it, which I wasn't necessarily expecting out of a Human Target book, but it's really good, actually. You don't need to know the Human Target before it catches you up with everything you need to know, just to be clear. You'd love to see that team on the Metal Men. The Exo Manowar Iron Man game was okay. It was okay. Has Joe Hill been doing anything recently? Probably just writing books, I guess. I haven't heard him working on anything comic book related. Boy, I'm really getting some lag on this. Oh, I didn't plug it in. I can plug this into my computer, and sometimes that will improve the stream health. I don't know. It might be too late to really adjust anything now, but yeah. Human Target 2, Human 2 Target. Sold. Airboy and the Heap. Yeah, I wonder who has the rights to those. Aircell. That might be Todd McFarlane that has the rights to that stuff. That might be McFarlane. I think he at least has the Heap, so he may have gotten all of Aircell's stuff. I could be remembering wrong, but that's what's popping in my head right now. I'm going to give Marshall like pretty thick eyebrows, I think. Yeah, I think that gives him just a little bit more personality than if I didn't do that. Who would I cast as the voices of Marshall and Nathan if it ever got a cartoon? Well, it did get a cartoon, and Will Friedle, the voice of Terry McGinnis / Batman Beyond, voiced Radiant Black in that. But that was Marshall, so I would say keep him. He was great. And for Nathan, this guy, I can talk pretty innocent, like I'm a little younger and a little nerdier. Oh, Marshall, what are you doing now? I don't know. Let's see. Actually, plugging it in improved the quality almost immediately. Sorry, I forgot that earlier, guys. If I'm going to do it, I might as well do a good job, right? Might as well. I think Radiant Black would actually work really well as a cartoon now that you say that. I don't know if that's anything that Kyle Higgins wants to do with it, but I think it could probably work really well. The hair is so crisply inked. Love it. That's kind of you. That's kind of you. Airboy was done by James Robinson and Greg Hinkle. Oh, I don't remember that at all. I like James Robinson. I'll have to keep that in mind. If you guys haven't seen it, seriously, look up the official Radiant Black cartoon. It's, I think, only like 5 to 7 minutes or so. It's not long. It was really just sort of a promo piece where, for essentially inexplicable reasons, Radiant Black goes up against one of the main characters from another Kyle Higgins comic, Cowl. It's good, though. It's really well animated. I think you'd like it if you haven't seen it. He said that he does have, an intention to, if not specific plans, that he definitely has an intention to. Keep in mind, there's a lot going on in sort of the Radiant Black massive verse. Tips for effective inking? Boy, I don't know if I'm necessarily the guy to ask. I feel like I do this to practice and to try to learn and perfect things, and I don't know that I necessarily know anything. I don't know if that I should be anybody's teacher is all I'm saying for this. But I would say, pay attention to your line weights, really learn and study light sources. I would say that if you can understand how light bounces off, reflects, refracts, etc., off of different types of materials, that will certainly help you. And you probably just also need to be a good artist outside of inking. So just practice lots of life drawing. And I think like your style will just emerge out of that. You'll find that you either like working with a brush and doing thick flowing lines, or you like doing lots of hatching in a certain way to represent something. The thing about comic book inking is it's a lot of cheats to, like human skin. If we were like to look at it, like, for instance, I've got some light on me right now, right? And like on this side, you can see that there's some dark areas that flow into lighter areas. Now, a lot of artists could represent that with like, maybe hatching here because they don't want to completely black this out, right? But then you've got to like find a way to blend that hatching here with, my beard and my mustache. Or like, what about like this harsh line that almost gives me an eye bag? But other artists might really just want to black that all out and throw all of this behind me into pure black. And that's a decision. That's a choice that you need to make depending on, what you want it to look like when it's done. And you're really probably only going to learn that by practicing it like yourself. Like ink the same line art 2 or 3 different ways. I have used screen tone on at least one live stream. I don't know if I have that result. Let me take a quick look, though, Sigmigs. Let me take a quick look. I've got a bunch of the things that I've drawn in the past sort of stacked up here. And I don't see it handy. I've done a couple things though with screen tone here. I did a Ninja Turtle once, or also my cover for Vampirella. I put the gorilla in screen tone, and I was cutting that out and pasting that on some live stream at some point, I think. I don't know why they haven't written more MCU stuff. You know, I think that they've written some other movies, so they're probably just busy. Confident single strokes also help to make the line art look clean. Screen tone is, how do I describe it? It comes in a lot of different patterns, okay? It's like a pattern on that's printed on a sheet that's otherwise clear. And it's got a little bit of gumminess on one side. So you sort of cut it out to the general shape of what you want to shade, what you want to like, but you don't want to make it pure black. You just want to like shade it as though it's got, you know, like for instance, behind me is super dark, right? It's not exactly black, but it's super dark. Whereas like the side of my face here is like shaded. So like if we were using screen tone, we might like cut out a shape for the side of my face here and some other like dark areas like under here or something. And so you lay it over with, and it sort of sticks to the page, and then you use an X-Acto knife and you like sort of cut out the line and you peel off what you don't need, and you're left with it having just a really pleasant looking tight pattern. Basically, if you've ever looked at manga, almost all manga is in lots of, you know, shades of gray, but if you really look at it, it's patterns of dots as compared to like actual like grayscale washes. Oh, this is an older manga, so this should have it. Let me see. And like there are different names for these tones, but if you look at like this, there's like a gray here, but technically it's like got like a bit of texture to it. They're using it on the floor here as well. Or this one actually has a gradient to it. They can come printed like that. These days, yes, you could do this with Photoshop with a brush that has this pattern, but this was created back in the early 90s. This was almost definitely an assistant cutting out screen tone here and laying it on his face, and then cutting out like the eyes and cutting out like, you know, like where the light was hitting him on the face. So that's screen tone. And I think but it gives it like a nice depth, right? You see how there's like different, like tons of different shades of gray, really. And this isn't even like the most, this is like a really early one. Like they came to have a lot more detail in Slam Dunk by the end of, oh, here, I've got number 31. So look at that. This is like the artwork evolved here. And these are all like screen tones. And then like there's sort of like bits of white here. So they may have like literally used the edge of an X-Acto knife to scrape along there to give it a highlight. But you can see that there's like a really light gray here on the basketball court that like trails off here. Lots of different grays. There's a few different shades of gray for the background here. These are all screen tones. And it's a time-consuming process. Let's let that focus. It's time-consuming, but it has a great look. These days, I think most manga, because it's black and white, is probably using Photoshop. That's probably faster. But there's something really amazing about the tactile experience of looking at a gray-toned book. Like this is like a manga that's coming out now, and in fact, if I look at like the gray on Superman here, there really isn't any pattern beyond like the tooth of this particular paper. It's a very even gray. And like any gradients here are probably done digitally. So it's not quite the same. It's not bad at all. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that like the techniques have evolved. There's other things too, like there's something called duotone. And that's like, it's like a chemically treated pattern. And if you like color it with one thing, it'll like do one shade. And if you color it with another thing, it'll shade a different way. So if you look at early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comics, they all use duotone, and so it has like two different types of tones going back and forth. It's really satisfying to look at, I think, and a bit of a forgotten art. But I do have some here, and tell you what, because you guys are asking, I'm about to go to Japan, right? I will make a point of stopping at one of my favorite art stores there, a place called Sakaido, which I believe is in Shinjuku, if I'm remembering right. It's been a couple years since I went there. They have several floors dedicated to different art supplies depending on the type of artist you are, painter or illustrator or multimedia, etc. One floor, it's not really the whole floor, but maybe like half of a whole floor is all dedicated to manga tools that a mangaka would use. And there are like 2 rows of nothing but screen tone patterns, so that you could have like a pattern for like a thunderstorm. You don't have to draw that. You could literally just sort of like put that into the background there, and then like different, angles of speed lines, and just different densities of dots, so that you can have different levels of gray. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. I'll make a point of capturing some of that on video and showing you some of the pens. I'll make a little bit of a travel vlog. Okay. I'll make a travel vlog. It's really, really fun. It's, as an artist or a person that appreciates comics, I really think that a lot of people that love comics just love to see exactly how much, there is there, and how many tools they have. They have tons of reference books that are like, like photos of poses, for instance, just tons of them. Really, really cool place. I always enjoy just sort of like browsing through it. So I'll make a point of getting some video there. No, 50. I'm talking hundreds. Tell you what, no, I don't have a way to pick it up real quick, do I? Give me a second here. Just stare at me, and I'm going to see if I can find an image online from like the photos that I've taken in the past. And if I can find it, I'll show it to you, because that's fun. So I might lose a bunch of viewers here if this takes me a while, but you know what? I'm just doing this for fun. So I think we'll all be okay. When did I last go to Japan? It would have been before the pandemic. So like 2019. Okay. 2019. Okay. I found an example. It's not even close to like showing you the full amount of what they can offer, but this is good. This is good. Present, share screen. That. This is just about maybe not quite half of one of the 2 aisles. And it goes down beyond what you can see on the page. So it goes out, about like yay far. It goes down here. These are all different types of screen tones. The Leader brand primarily. It's fun. Do I have any others of no? Oh, as long as I'm here, like I'll just show you this. Like when I went there last time, they had an art installation in Shibuya dedicated to Katsuhiro Otomo's Akira art. Like, look at this. You went in and there was this huge version of Tetsuo when he starts to become this like just absolutely gigantic baby made up of flesh and just debris and stuff like that. And they were playing like loud music and showing art from Akira projected against the walls, and it was constantly changing. It was wild. Here's another angle of that. It's just a statue. It's kind of cool, right? They had gachapon, where you could get like original, not original art, like reprints of Akira art on like little standees. They had like an Akira shop. I already had the Akira manga, but yeah. They had some original art by Otomo for sale. For instance, this one's from Domu, a previous book he did. See ya, Alex. Thanks for dropping in. What else did I have here? Is there anything else worth showing? Oh yeah, look at this. This was like the throne that Tetsuo sat on when he started to go mad with power towards the end of Akira. And then I guess this is just the city. So anyway, I guess that's enough. What time is it? No, I haven't been doing it that long. Hope you guys didn't mind the tangent too much. When I go this time, I'll try to make some vlogs about, the comic book stores, the like art that I see, art stores, etc. Like anything that seems like it's relevant to comic books. I'll try to make some travel vlog stuff. I don't remember how much it was. I don't know if it even was for sale now that I think of it. It may have just been on display. It was back in 2019, which was a while back, so I just don't remember anymore. I'm sorry. Is the background pros and cons words on your desktop an example of screen tone? Sort of. I just created that with, I would say I was more going for the idea of what's called Ben-Day dots. And if I go back to the golden age of comics, they basically only had the ability to print about, I think, 6 colors. And that's including like black. I think it might have only been 4 colors plus black. It's hard to remember. I think it was 6 though. And they didn't just like print it. That was expensive, like to just print like a block of colors. So they printed it as really tight dots. And those are called Ben-Day dots. And if you overlapped 2 different colors of Ben-Day dots, you would get a different color, basically. Like that would be, if you used a little bit of red, not much red, like really small amount, and some yellow, you'd get sort of generally a skin color like peach or something like that. A pinkish color. And so if you go back to like Golden Age comics and can see what they originally looked like, they were using what's called Ben-Day dots. And yeah, so I was just sort of like, I'll just take this away so that you can see what he's talking about. Hold on. No, that didn't work. Let me add that and switch it to this. So like I just created this background in Photoshop using just like pixelation of a gradient, but I overlap it in such a way that it's reminiscent of Ben-Day dot technology. Wasn't exactly the most accurate in terms of like lining up within the lines of the artwork and stuff. It would frequently like sort of print a little offset and stuff like that. Anyway. What are your 6 most favorite colors? You're a jerk, Randy, asking me such a tough question. Gray, blue, chartreuse, magenta, puce, and slightly darker gray. Anyway. Oh, yeah, it's definitely what you think of when you think of comics, I think. Depending on exactly how old you are and how many comics you may have been exposed to, but yeah. I think Randy was just trying to give me a hard time there. I don't know for sure. Randy, since you're there, and I know that it's hard to promote like Kickstarters, do you want to mention the one that like your character is appearing in right now? Randy has lent a character that he's created, a superhero character, to um, some people that have their own superhero character. It's going to be an indie comic crossover comic. But feel free to plug it, man. And if you type it up, I'll highlight it if you want. No pressure, no pressure. But yeah, when I did the what do you call it, the Vampirella cover, like, boy, did I realize that pimping your own stuff and getting new people interested is not easy. It takes a lot of effort. Crazy. Sepia, yes. I like it to look like just a washed out spaghetti western. Good night. I know it's late. Actively working on our comic Indiana Jones and the King's Blade. Pretty sure that there is a character named Indiana Jones. You might want to double check that name. Do 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 do. Ba ba da da da. Everybody's going to bed. I understand. I've heard of him. Okay, there we go. Today of all days, apparently. The Relentless Adventure teams up Lane from Bullet Adventures. That's Randy's comic. He's produced 4 successful Kickstarter issues of that. And The Lark from Young Offenders. So it's basically 2 female superheroes. One's sort of a Batman-esque character. One's a super speedster like the Flash. Different personalities and backgrounds, but I'm just giving you the powers and stuff. And they're going to like team up at a state fair adventure. Yes, his character is called Laney. But if you want to look this up, I supported it. I backed it. I think it looks like really good art. I think that Randy and his friends have some great superhero characters. It's called The Relentless Adventure. You can find that on Kickstarter. And yeah, just know that it will get fulfilled. If it gets funded, it will be fulfilled. I luckily managed to find a printing company called Mixum. They're fairly affordable for the quality of prints they do as well. Just thought I'd recommend them to anyone else trying to self-publish. Well, that's very kind of you. Mixum. I have to admit, that's the first time I've heard of them, but very kind of you to share your advice. Randy, why aren't you in bed? It's late. You've got kids, man. You can't just be hanging out and having fun all day. So irresponsible. Wow. I did see the trailer for Aquaman 2. I'll be honest, I didn't know what to make of that one. I was not expecting anything from the first Aquaman, and I ended up kind of liking it. And then I go, oh, yeah, like James Wan tends to make good movies, so maybe I should have expected more. But this one definitely looks a lot more digital, if that makes sense. I don't know. I'd like it to be good. They made a point of showing that Aquaman now has a baby. With the fact that the villain is Black Manta, that implies to me, as like a longtime comics reader, that there could be something incredibly tragic that happens in this movie. But the rest of the movie looks so sort of like goofy adventure that like something that serious doesn't seem like it would fit. I really don't know. I really don't know. Well, I did catch a glimpse of her, to be honest. But yes, I absolutely noticed that she was barely featured in the trailer. From everything I understand, I think that they felt like, geez, we can't just erase Mira, and we don't want to recast her, which they probably should have just done. But they've like really downplayed her in the story. Like, I don't think she's a significant role in the book, in the movie, I should say. We'll see. I didn't keep very up to date on the Amber Heard Johnny Depp drama, so I really don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. I'm sorry, I don't know. Maybe they're counting on people like me being like uninformed, because it does seem like, from what I'm reading, that a lot of people are pretty upset that Amber Heard is in the movie. Yes, they should have digitally replaced her with Tig Notaro, like they did in what's that zombie movie again? I forget, but that was cool. Thoughts on all the alien talk from governments? Are governments talking about aliens a lot? I missed out on that one. That would be a fun world if we had aliens. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't really buy into that. Army of the Dead. That was the one. That was actually kind of fun, I thought. I thought Army of the Dead was pretty fun. And yeah, they replaced Chris D'Elia, I think, with Tig Notaro. Honestly, you really can't tell. It's really well done. But Tig Notaro was digitally inserted after they had filmed the entire rest of the movie, because one of the actors turns out to be a sex pest. I really like Tig. I think that she makes everything she's in better. In Mexico, some guy brought forward what looks like paper mache ET mummy mannequins and said they were aliens. Somebody's always ready to make some money off of something. I didn't hear about that, guys. I'll have to look that up. That sounds kind of amusing. Yeah, I used to read Battle Chasers when it was originally coming out from Joe Madureira, and I read the first issue of The Return, and I was like, yeah, this is a good replacement artist, and it seems like it's in the same tone, but I realized it's just been too long for me. I just didn't really feel a connection with the characters and the environment and the world anymore, so I did not decide to keep reading them monthly, I have to admit. it's a good idea though. Like like for sort of a manga type of interpretation of a steampunk fantasy world. That's a good idea. Those were aliens. They're just made out of paper mache. Got it. Got it. The government's just talking about unidentified flying objects, which aren't inherently an extraterrestrial thing. Exactly. They're just unidentified flying objects. Popular culture makes people think about it that way. Yep. Yep. Uh, those poor aliens. They came all this way only to realize that our planet is a little soggy and it just doesn't do any good for their paper based biology. Now, if I was a really good artist, which I am not, I would know how to measure this stuff out so that it's like actually accurate. I don't know how to measure it out, so I'm eyeballing it, and I think that's fair sometimes, but probably is not a good rule of thumb for making regular art. But I think in a little bit I'll probably end up calling it a night, and from there, like I've still got some work to do on my next comic tropes episode. I think it's going to be a good one. I hate getting so excited about some episodes just because I get excited doesn't mean everybody gets excited. I've realized. So that's a little tough to. I don't want to get my hopes up that it'll be a big hit and make me a few bucks as well as being fun to make, but uh, I do think it's a good one and I'm proud of it. So I'm excited. I'm excited. I think most of you will enjoy it. I know it's going to be a good one. That's nice of you. That's very sweet of you. There are comic jams like that. Oh, I missed this. Okay, hold on. Always wondered what a comic book made by fans, where everyone draws one small panel of a story and stitched together where the art is consistently changing. Been done before? Yeah. In fact, there's a term for it. It's called exquisite corpse. Um, it could be panel by panel. It could be page by page. It can also, just to be clear, be written, where basically, yeah, one person does one piece of it, hands it off to the next person, hands it off, hands it off, hands it off. The term for that is exquisite corpse. So I had fun with that term. Not that everybody knows it, but I did a review of Doomsday Clock, which I felt was Jeff Johns just taking some Alan Moore ideas and going, and then this happens. So I called it Doomsday Clock, like the exquisite corpse of Watchmen or something like that. I thought I was being funny. Not that funny, but to me it was funny. It's only legendary till someone proves it's real. I've got the One Piece song in my head. I'm putting in that weird pattern that a lot of tiles have, which I don't quite know why they have it like that, where they've got the all those dots all over the place. And hopefully it'll eventually start giving it enough of a texture to look like it's real. And I just realized that I also want to give it just an extra little bit of something here. Yeah, if I just sort of give it a second line, it looks like it's got actual depth. You'll see what I'm talking about in a little bit. You can wait. Yeah, dude, that's the fun of inking. Like, now I can just draw a bunch of dots and that'll make it look better. That's the fun part. I can hear my cats meowing. They want more food. Let me think this through here. Okay, so that one's going to be a light. So this one will be a panel. And that one will be a panel. That one will be a light. This one will be a panel. Yeah. 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 That's how the angry video game nerd says things. He just goes, yeah, a lot. If you know, you know. I tried using stippling as a shading method for a comic when I was younger, and it drove me nuts. It does make you more patient, though. There is an artist that does stippling for a pattern, and I'm trying to remember who it was. It's not coming to me now, but I can remember at least one thing they did. I think, if I'm remembering right, whoever drew the second arc of not the second, the third arc of Grendel. I think it's like a French person. Oh, I can't remember. But I've also seen some people like take stippling to like an absurd level, and I admire them for having the patience to do something like that. I don't necessarily have that kind of patience. Yeah, exactly. That's what he does. That's what he does. Hey, that's not necessarily a great thing. I can think of plenty of inkers who have a really sort of sketchy style with like real brushwork in it. I think guys like Tom Palmer and Klaus Janson do some really nice kind of rougher inks that's very accurate and precise in its own way. So please don't measure myself against yours. Like, whatever you're doing is the best for you. Hope that makes sense. It is beautiful. I haven't played it. I'm aware it exists, but I haven't played it. That's the name. Thanks, Phil. I was thinking of Bernie Moreau, who I'm pretty sure has done a bunch of stippling in his technique, but I'd have to Google it. It's definitely been... It was just the name that popped in, not even the name, but like the art that popped in my head. I believe he uses stippling. I don't know who else to think of off the top of my head for comic book art that uses lots of stippling, but that was the one that popped in my head. That was the one that popped in my head. Thank you for looking that up and suggesting it, Phil. I appreciate it, even if I'm not right. Like, thank you for at least giving me the name. Maybe I'll watch some more of the One Piece anime tonight. That could be fun. Kind of want to veg out a little. I need to find my, if possible, find my Nintendo Switch, because I'd love to take that with me on the flight. I think it's about 14 hours. So that's a long time. It's a long, long time. So I'm going to have this be a light that's out, and I'll have this one like on, and maybe that will sort of like look like he's having the idea. I don't know if it'll play or not, but that's my idea with this. There's still like 3 panels to do back down here. I'm not going to be able to finish this all tonight, so I think I'm about to call it. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably what I can get done for tonight. But I appreciate everybody hanging out with me while I just doodled, essentially. Very kind of you. Always fun to sort of sketch and draw while people are just hanging out with you. That's nice. Thank you, folks. What did I say that I lost? I forget. Sorry. Oh, you know what? You're right, Phil. That's fair to say. Robert Crumb definitely did use plenty of stippling. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh yeah. My Switch. That's right. I don't know where I put it. I think I took it with me on a trip and left it in a backpack. So I just sort of need to go through all the different backpacks in the house until I find it. I hope that's where it is. No, thanks for joining me, folks. This was definitely fun for me to just sort of mess around. What do I have left to do? I want to do some more detail in this sort of second panel. I want to do all the background for panel 2, erase all the pencil stuff, and then just like have 3 panels at the bottom here where like then it would be like Marshall like excitedly selling his artwork. Marshall, like, and like I'll probably have a clock in the background that's past a bunch of hours and like, nothing sold. And he's like looking a little frustrated. And one where he's just like laying down on the table, all frustrated, going like, like, no, everyone's a critic, something like that. We'll see. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. I had a good time. Hope you had an okay time just hanging out. And I will see you on Monday. There is a lot of comic book news this week and a couple really cool comics that I've already read. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing the Monday night live stream. That'll be fun. And hopefully before that comes out, I will have the next comic tropes done and ready for you. So take care, everybody. Keep reading comics. Oh, really lovely way to finish it out. That's nice to hear, Noel. Hope you guys are happy with what you're doing. Take care, everyone.